Welcome to PR Powerhouse, helping female entrepreneurs to get in the press and to gain PR. I'm Jo Swan, and I'll be sharing how to harness the power of the media to boost your credibility and business visibility, no matter what stage in business you're at. Because I'm on a mission to show you that PR is not just for the big boys. In this show, you'll learn how to reach out to journalists and own your place in the press, because you are ready to become a PR powerhouse. Hello and welcome to episode 4. Today we are talking about what you need to get started with PR. I'm so excited to bring you this episode, and I could very easily get very carried away with this one because I feel like I need to tell you so much. I feel like there's so many things that you can do to really help give yourself that advantage when it comes to being really ready to do PR. But I need to keep things simple and I need to keep things in a digestible way. So what we're going to do is we're just going to talk through 5 key things that you can do to get started with PR. So that sounds like a plan, doesn't it? Not overwhelming you. Let's just get started with some key things that you can work through ticking off. Okay, so number 1, and this is easy because number 1 is already done for you in episode 1. So number 1 is basically understanding what PR is. So that's the first thing that you've got to do to get started with PR. You've got to understand what it is. You've got to understand how to play the game. You've got to understand how it's different from advertising and how it is very much its own unique marketing medium. So number 1 is covered in episode 1. Go and listen to that one. Tick. Okay, number 2. Number 2 is getting down to it. Number 2 is really starting to get to the nitty gritty of how you get started with PR to have success in PR. So there's lots of scattergun approaches that you can take. But if you work your way through these 5 steps, you are going to be doing it in a great order to really prepare yourself for success. So number 2 is really looking at your mission message. So I really want you to think about what it is that you are standing for in your business. So when we talk about mission message, we're basically talking about what it is that is driving you to do what you do, what it is that is sitting behind your business. What are you absolutely itching to change? What are you just desperate to help people with? What are you really, really here for? And from all of that emotion and passion and purpose, that's where we want to really build your mission message. Now, going back to point 1 in terms of understanding actually what PR is and how it works, I've already explained to you that the media needs something to grab onto. So they don't just want to be promoting businesses for the sake of it. That's not what they do. That's not their job. That's not something that they will agree to do. So what they like is they like to get behind someone who is on a mission. They like to get behind someone who is on a mission that is driven to make some sort of change, whose business is very much driven by passion and purpose. So we want you to be able to think about how you communicate that. What is your mission message? Now, some people find this easier than others. Some people actually really struggle with it. But it's all about just asking yourself those questions of why am I doing what I'm doing and what do I hope to achieve with it? What impact do I wish to make? So my mission message is very much around empowering more people to use the power of PR, empowering startups, small businesses, female entrepreneurs, people who traditionally have shy away from PR. I want to empower them with the knowledge of actually what PR is and understanding how they can do it, so they can make it a part of their marketing toolbox. I also am really passionate about helping people to use the power of PR when they're not so confident in themselves. So part of my mission message is also about actually helping people deal with things like imposter syndrome and visibility fears through PR, through having successful PR, actually helping them overcome some of those other limits that can stop them in business. So think about that in context of your own business. What are you setting out to achieve? Who are you really, really passionate about helping? And can you really wrap that up into a nice, neat mission message? The last part to think about when you're thinking about your mission message is giving a little nod to elements of your story that are making you feel this way. So, what is it from your own experience that is driving you to do this? So, in my example, I have experienced imposter syndrome, and I have experienced how that robs you of time, how that robs you of self-worth, how that stops you in your tracks from achieving the goals that you are so passionate about achieving. And that's one of the reasons why I am super, super passionate about helping other people to overcome imposter syndrome. So that is one of my driving forces. I also know how it feels to feel disempowered, and that's something that I've experienced in my career. And that's another reason I think why I like to help people to feel empowered. So think about your own experiences and what's led you here in terms of what experiences you have had that you don't want others to have. Okay, let's move on to point number 3. And this follows on really nicely from what we were just starting to talk about there, which is your story. So number 3 is get your story nailed. And this is just absolute PR fundamentals. So quite often people go into PR thinking they know what their story is. They go into PR thinking that they're really clear on what they're ready to communicate to the journalist, but actually they haven't really done the in-depth thinking time, or they haven't put the effort in to making their story make total sense. And instead they sort of pick and choose at various different bits of it without really tying it all together. So having your story nailed, again, goes back to point number 1 in terms of understanding how PR works and that you have to do this hard work for the journalists. Now, we had a fabulous PRQ just this week where one of our clients has ended up with a huge article in a national magazine talking about her backstory, talking about how her business got off the ground as a side hustle and it's now a multi-million-pound business. Now, there's a lot to her story. There are many elements to her story, but we have done a lot of work with her on actually condensing that story, making it all make sense, connecting it all together with the values that run through her journey. And what we have ended up with is a media-friendly version of her story. Now, she got a full-page article in a national publication without even being interviewed because they just lifted the information that we had supplied. They just used it word for word in terms of how we had presented her story. And that is the absolute dream because that means that you are 100% in control of what information is going out there. You are 100% in control of how you are being represented. If it's something that you have signed off in the first place and that you have constructed to show the best parts of your story. So that's a fabulous win. It's something that is always a sign of success when the media can write an article without even speaking to the clients. That is when we do our little happy dance around the office because it's like, our job here is done. That story was nailed to perfection. So nailing your story, there is some work to do there. And the process that we take our clients through to help them nail their story is we help them create something called a media bio. Now, if you've heard me speak on any masterclasses, you will have heard me talk about this and I will have shown you examples of what it looks like. You can actually download examples from our website, www.chocolatepr.co.uk. You can search in there and find the section on media bios and you can actually download what one looks like. So the media bio is where we pull together everything about you that the media need to know. And we dissect your story, we make sense of your story, and we connect it up to your business. Now, when I'm talking about your story, we're not talking about your entire life story. We're not going to put that to the journalist because it's too much. But what we need to do is we need to pull out the key points of your journey, of your life, basically, so that they can understand how your business is driven by certain values, how your business is driven by certain experiences, and why your mission is indeed what it is. So within the media bio, we highlight what your mission is. We really put that at the forefront of the bio to show them that you are on a mission, to show them that you care about certain things, certain subject areas, certain actions. We then really take them on a journey in terms of a bit of a chronological journey of your life story. So we do go right back and we start to look at what you were like as a child and in your upbringing. We start to look at what values were inherent as a family. We start to look at what experiences impacted and affected you throughout your school years or university or your early career. Now, not all of that will be relevant to every single person's bio, but we ask those questions so that we can pull out the key things that then we can choose which ones to use, and we can choose which bits kind of make the most sense to your business. So we do take you through that kind of personal journey. And then we also look at kind of what qualities and what values you were highlighting as an individual throughout those years. We look at what choices you made in corporate world. We look at your career path, and we bring it right up to date in terms of when you launched your business. Now, there's a lot of work to do in terms of bridging all of those different parts of your life. There's quite a lot of work to do in terms of kind of crossing the T's and dotting the I's to make sense of it all. And that's where the thinking time comes in. But when you do that, it's amazing how much of it does connect and how much of it does really sit together. And it is just so, so powerful to then produce this document, which has basically got your highlights on. And it could, by highlights, it's not all positive. You know, your lowlights are in there because that's a part of your story. But we finish it up with where you are now and what you're doing now to help other people. And we also include your qualifications and your credentials and any awards and all of that kind of stuff to really elevate you in the eyes of the media. Now, putting the time in to do that means, first of all, you might get the kind of coverage that our client had, where actually the media just lifts that information and runs with it as a full page feature, which is an absolute dream. You might get the situation that actually what the job of that bio is doing is it's giving you the credibility to go for other opportunities. So it might be giving you the credibility to go for speaking gigs. It might be giving the opportunity to potentially get a column in a magazine because it's presenting you in the best possible way and making it really easy for the journalist to see what it is you stand for, what you're about, what you could write about, and what your areas of expertise are. The process that we take our clients through is we start with a questionnaire. So we ask the right questions, and this actually comes from my journalistic background. So one of the things that I love the most about PR is the storytelling side. And that came, I think, from my desire to be a journalist from a really young age. So we start by asking the questions that I know the journalists would ask you if they were going to be interviewing you. So what we're doing is we're reverting back and we are doing the hard work for the journalists. We are doing all this background work. We are putting that work in to make their lives really easy. So we start by asking questions. So you do a brain dump where you would answer those questions. And then the process that we work through with our clients is we then help them one-to-one dig out any other elements, any more detail that we feel we need to make it all make sense. And then we would write that bio up for that particular client. Now, when you're doing it yourself, obviously there's an element there that you need to take charge of. And we do have a guide that actually helps you pull out that information. So we have a What's Your Story guide, which enables you to delve into some of those questions and have a go at pulling that initial information together. So we will pop the link to that in the show notes. Okay, so once that hard work is done, you have made real progress at becoming PR ready and getting started with PR and getting all the things that you need to get started for PR. So the next point, number 4, is what I call dare to be seen mentality. And this is the next thing that you need to be ready to actually undertake the PR. So you might have gone through the process of understanding what PR is. You're like, yep, I get it. I totally get it. I understand where it fits in the marketing mix. I know what job PR is there to do, and I get how it works. Okay, you might then have gone through the process of getting your mission message really clear and being very defined about what it is that you stand for and why you do what you do, which is fabulous. The next thing that you will have done then is your research, your homework, and spent that time really bringing out your story and really dissecting the angles that really are important to communicate to the media. Now, at that point, you can go one of two ways. You can either think, oh my God, this is incredible. I am absolutely amazing. Why have I never realized that I'm this amazing? I need to get my message out there. I've got so much to share. I need to get this story out there. So you might think that, and then fabulous. You are then on your way to the next point. However, at that point, you might start to freak out a little bit. You might start to question how much of this story you want to tell. You might start to question whether anyone is going to care about hearing it. You might start to question what people you know will think when you start to share this. You might start to question what is going to happen if this story actually gets published. There's lots of things that you might start to question. And ultimately, what you will do at that point is you will then question yourself. And you will question whether actually this is the right thing to do to get this story out there, whether you dare do it, whether you should be doing it. You might start to say, who am I to be doing this? Like, who did I think I was? Like, trying to have a go at this PR stuff. So often self-doubt does come in at this point. So number 4, getting ready with PR and this dare to be seen mentality. It's kind of a process that you have got to take yourself through if you are asking yourselves those kinds of questions. And what I want you to do, if you find yourself in that situation, is go back to the work that you've done prior. So go back to that mission message. Go really into that mission message of really thinking about what that means to you and how much you have done to get yourself to this point, to be in a position where you have a business that can make impact. Focus on that impact. Focus on the exact people that you are trying to help with your message, because ultimately sharing your story and sharing your message is not about you. Now, some people use it as a cathartic process to actually get some good out of maybe some not so good things that have happened to them in life. And that is a fabulous way to use PR. Ultimately, the end result that you're trying to do is impact and help other people. So the PR is not about you. It is certainly not about you and your ego. It's not about you standing up and saying, oh my God, look at me, I'm so amazing. Or, it's not about you being that kind of big head of wanting that attention. And people don't see it like that either. So if you're telling yourself that's how people are going to respond when you put some PR out there, that isn't the case. People don't tend to respond that way. They tend to respond with encouragement, with excitement, with love and care and empathy when you shared your story. So that dare to be seen mentality comes from really focusing on that end goal of making more impact and really considering what that impact could be. And so often we have clients tell us that they have received messages from people who have read their story in a newspaper or heard them on a podcast or read an article in a magazine and resonated with that story and heard exactly what they needed to hear at that exact perfect time in their life. And people honestly get messages from people all over the world that they have never met saying, thank you for sharing that with me because I absolutely needed to hear that. I didn't know which way to go. I was stuck. I was trapped. And you showing me that there's a way out has inspired me. It's inspired me to take action. It's inspired me to know that there's more to life than this. So that's what you've got to focus on. When you need that dare to be seen mentality and you don't have it, you absolutely 100% have got to focus on the end result of making more impact. Okay, so now from a practical point of view, what can help you do that is having that media buyer that we've just talked about, but also presenting yourself in the way that makes you really proud and makes you believe in yourself as an expert, makes you believe in yourself as somebody who is up there with the best, sharing their knowledge, sharing their advice. And one of the ways that you can get to feel like that is through professional brand photography. Now, this was an absolute game changer for me. When I had my first professional branding shoot done a couple of years ago, that was when my business changed direction. Because all of a sudden, I'd been through quite a process of imposter syndrome. And I had been through quite a process of not wanting to show up individually, personally as me, and trying to hide behind the brand of the business rather than be the face of the business. So I did have to do a lot of internal work to actually change that. And you will hear later on in this podcast series from one of the people who was very, very integral into that part of my journey, a lady called Andrea Callanan. And Andrea really helped me see that I needed to start projecting myself as others saw me. I really needed to start to illustrate myself in a way that aligned with how other people saw me. As this expert, as someone who was confident in her expertise and somebody that had a lot to give, and also somebody who had a certain character. As you know, I am full of fun. I love to have a bit of fun in business, and that wasn't coming across. So my first brand shoot was an absolute game changer for me, and it gave me that dare to be seen mentality, because when I got these pictures back, I was like, oh my God, well, yeah, she can sit up there alongside these other people that I've seen in my space that I've been intimidated by. Look at her go. Like, look at how she looks in these pictures. And because the photographer was so amazing, the absolutely wonderful Bri Penny, she brought out my character, and the pictures really felt like me. They really felt like authentic pictures that were showing the real me. And we used the shoot to create a brand story. We used the shoot to support my messages and my mission, and to really illustrate those points. And so when I had these professional pictures that sat alongside my mission message, I felt so much more confident and so much more ready to take that out to the world. So brand photography is a fabulous thing that you can invest in that can really help you. If you're at that point where you are feeling a little bit nervous about getting out there, it really can be a game changer. Okay, so let's do a little recap. We've covered a lot of things here now when we're talking about the things you need to do to get started with PR. So we've talked about the number one thing is to understand what PR is, understand how it works, and understand the rules of the game. The second thing you need to do is to get clear on your mission message and really be able to communicate that in a clear way with passion and purpose. The third thing that you need to do is do the work on your story. Get the story nailed. Understand which parts of your story you need to tell, which parts of it make sense and connect to your business and illustrate the values of what your business is all about. Number 4 is about finding that dare to be seen mentality and really running with that, really believing in yourself, really believing in your message, and really believing in the impact that you want to make. So number 5 comes now back down to actually some of the logistics of what you need to do to get started with PR, and that is find opportunities. So how are you going to get started with PR if you don't know what your end opportunity looks like? So number 5 is identify your media opportunities. Now, this is a super, super important part of the process. And as with any marketing, there's some research that needs to happen. You can't just kind of skip through marketing and think that you're going to get this really super fast end result of massive impact of being included in national media without doing a little bit of work that sits behind it. So the way that you're going to get the best results with PR is to have very clear targets and have a very, very clear focus. Now, PR is going to be different for everybody. So it's going to be different based on what your subject area is. It's going to be different based on what your mission message is. It's going to be based on who your audience is. So there is no one kind of answer in terms of, well, where should I get PR? Where is the best place for me to get PR? So you are going to have to do that research to really dig deep and really find out where you need to be seen, where you need to be writing content, where you need to be sharing your story or your advice or your mission message. So one of the easiest ways to do that is to basically see what else is out there on the subject areas that you feel like you could write. So if you did a search for certain keywords that are to do with your business, if you were to do a search for, let's say, certain blog titles or questions that people might ask in your area of business, then you are going to find publications that tend to write about that subject area. So that's the first phase of your research. You're going to find titles that write about what you want to write about. So that's one way that you can do it. The other way that you can do it is to search out individual journalists. So some journalists are specialists in writing about certain subject areas. So you could have a look and try and actually track down the journalist that writes about your subject area. And the best place to do that is actually on Twitter, because Twitter is where journalists live most of the time. Twitter is where they do a lot of their work. It's where they do a lot of their call outs for people to speak to be a part of their articles, because it's a fast medium. Journalists don't have loads of time. They don't have time to mess about. They don't have time for long emails, dragged out introductions. They want speed. And that's why they love Twitter as a platform, because when they communicate with people, they've got to do it fast because of the character limit. So whatever your situation is on Twitter, whether you've got a profile, whether you don't have a profile, whether you have a profile that you think is a bit rubbish because you don't really use it or you don't have many followers, it does not matter. Commit to using Twitter as a research tool, as a communication tool where you can start to interact with the media, you can start to follow them, you can start to see what kinds of things they're writing about. So I would recommend that you created a Twitter list where you have a list that's just called media, or you have a list that's called local media or health media, or you could break it down in terms of the different types of journalists that you're looking to engage with. Create a Twitter list and make sure that on a regular basis, whether that's once a day, once a week, however often you can do it, you are logging in and you are just looking at that feed of what comes through from that list, of what those journalists were writing about, what sort of stuff they're looking for. And that's a fabulous way to really get your head around what opportunities are out there. The other thing to think about is if you are really wanting to lead with your story, then also do a bit of research into what real life story opportunities there are out there for you. So in the UK, we have a number of magazines that are dedicated to real life stories, or several of the women's magazines have particular sections within them where they feature real life stories. So they've got these regular profile opportunities that you can use as your platform to share your story. So it's not starting from scratch. You don't have to be banging your head against a brick wall or a closed door. There are some very open doors for you to use. So getting started with PR is all about finding which of those doors you can open, which of those doors are already half open, and how you're going to get to those journalists that are actually the right people that will receive your story with interest. So media research is a fundamental part of getting started with PR. We are actually going to talk about this in a whole dedicated episode in a couple of episodes' time, where we really delve much more deeply into how to find some of the right media for you. But there's fundamental things that you can absolutely do to get yourself off the ground. There we have it. If you take yourself through those 5 steps, I truly believe that you are going to be on the right path for PR success. You will have worked through methodically and logistically the right ways to approach PR success. And you will have ticked off a lot of the core work that you need to do to get yourself off the ground. Now, as I said earlier, we do have a What's Your Story guide, which you can find a link to in the notes. We also have a PR checklist, which has got a slightly fuller, longer checklist of all the things that you might want to consider before you get started in PR. If you message me at JoChockPR on Instagram, I will send you that checklist too. So I feel like you've got enough to be going on with there. I feel like you've got enough to get your teeth into, to start doing a bit of PR homework, to get yourself ready for PR. And then we'll be back to dive deeper into more support that I can offer you in terms of how you can plan PR into your business and how you can help use it to empower spreading that really important message. Okay, take care. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to PR Powerhouse with me, Jo Swan. If you want to feel empowered and supported and excited about getting in the press, come and join us in our free community over on Facebook at PR You Can Do It. I would absolutely love to see you there so I can help you take those next steps to getting in the media.